Hi everyone, I'm Stefan Spijkers. I'm co-founder of PIMVendors.com, and today we're going to look at the cross-border PIM checklist. It's a short white paper by us written because we organized an event on cross-border, a roundtable, where we, together with 4 experts, discussed cross-border strategy for PIM in 3 separate sessions. All right, what will we cover today? We will cover defining your cross-border strategy, preparing your organization, your people, your processes, your IT, optimizing your cross-border approach, and the next steps. First, let me thank everyone that spoke at our roundtable. Those roundtables you can see still on the YouTube, our YouTube channel. You can see the full recordings there. But these 4, so Justin Thomas, Rupert Fernstone, Harald Kraus, and Dagmar Schneider, were the 4 speakers, and they joined us 3 times to discuss these 3 cross-border topics on product information management. All right, where does that start? It starts with defining your cross-border strategy and actually what cross-border means for your organization. Where do you draw the line for cross-border? Because you can do cross-border or cross-market strategy, and actually entering a new market, even if it's the same within the same country, could mean adding new use cases or adding attributes or specifying your product to the new market, even though it's still within the same country. How do you do regionalization and localization? So even within a country, you will have regional differences, and you might want to optimize your products and their attributes to serve these local markets. But how? And you can do that on large country or region level scale, but you can even do it on a city scale. How small do you want to go? And there's all kinds of cultural complexities. So the cultural differences, that will be your biggest challenge. They're often overlooked. So if you're not natively from a specific region or natively from a specific country, you will miss the nuances that these cultures bring. And that goes much deeper than just translating all your product data to a different language. It can, for example, be the fact that they drive on the other side of the road, or the fact that they read from right to left instead of from left to right. So what are the key takeaways? Do your research. So that helps you be aware of pitfalls, helps you define the correct cross-border strategy for your specific organization. It will help you define the requirements for a rollout of the strategy, but also how it will impact your products, your people, processes, and tools, which is the topic of the next topic. Preparing your organization. We'll be preparing your organization, or using this presentation, you can help prepare your organization, and we'll go through the different topics of your products, your people, and processes, and your tools in 3 slides. So preparing your products. If you want to start your cross-border journey, you have to review your data model. Specifically when it comes to these 3 topics, but you should review it fully nonetheless. Localize your attributes and images. That means translating them, but also maybe transforming the measurements to inches or to centimeters. It means adding a product variant with a localized power plug if you're going from the UK to Europe or vice versa. There's different legal requirements for each region. So specifically for pharmaceutical products and for food, cosmetics. But there's different legal requirements from country to country, and it's good to check those in advance. And obviously, we end with the most obvious one, the translations. And you should not discount the cost of good translations. Also not the benefits of good translations, but having good translations and not just the automatically generated Google Translate or the automatically generated ChatGPT Translate, which is coming up. You really need to tune into the local tone of voice and the local emotion to get the best results. And that can actually require boots on the ground instead of an outsourced team or automatic translation or doing it yourself. Preparing your people and your processes. So before you launch in a new market, you often need a dedicated team and localized processes. But before you start hiring people or before you start defining those local processes, you need to answer the two key questions below. Which one will you let come first? Will you focus on process or focus on culture? Because they will conflict, and you will need to decide beforehand whether you will allow local teams to deviate from the process or whether you will enforce a uniform process across regions. The second one, who will be there and who will be responsible in the end? Will it be your local team when it comes to your product information management, or will it be the headquarters? And it is very important to decide beforehand when it comes to product data decisions, maybe all decisions, who will take responsibility and where do they operate from? Do you have a local team in the region that you're expanding to, in the country that you're expanding to, or will you have a localized team that will operate from the headquarters? All right, and then tools, finally, and then tools as a final factor to determine how you will go about with your cross-border strategy. We will focus on two tools specifically, PIM and DAM. And it's important to, select the right PIM and DAM to support your cross-border ambitions and make sure that they are localized correctly. So that includes the obvious ones, the obvious localizations, so translations, maybe brands that differ across countries, but also the non-obvious. So that the fact that countries read left to right, which also means that they read the causation on a poster or on an image from left to right or from right to left. So that definitely will impact your marketing material. And then you have to prepare the rest of your IT architecture for cross-border selling. That means that these PIMs and DAMs and the localized PIMs and DAMs need to be embedded correctly. Key takeaways. You need to prepare your organization, obviously, but it includes the obvious stuff, but also the non-obvious cultural differences. If you have your localization strategy in place, you prevent all kinds of on-the-fly decision-making and deviations from the process. So make sure you have that in place before you start executing. And then finally, you need to have the tools that support your efforts instead of holding your back if you want to really focus on your cross-border ambitions. Right, so if you have prepared your people, your tools, your processes, then you can start optimizing your cross-border efforts. So if you want to make sure your cross-border efforts are efficient and effective, that's what we're focusing on now. You can optimize in three key areas. There's the automation, so AI automation, machine learning automation that helps you automate certain steps in the process. You can outsource, so you can outsource some manual work to other lower salary areas or lower salaried roles or lower salaried businesses. And of course, in designing the process efficiently and effectively. That also has some impact on cultures. As discussed, some cultures will have your detailed feedback ready as soon as you ask them for it. Others will wait until the last moment and give you all the feedback just before the deadline. If you want to go cross-border, that will create inefficiencies, and you have to keep on continuously improving your processes and leveraging the cultural differences to make sure that you have an efficient and effective cross-border strategy. So a cross-border PIM checklist to go through all the checks means you have gone through all the steps in the slides we discussed previously. And it goes from having defined your cross-border strategy to having explored the options to optimize your cross-border efforts. So what are the next steps? You have watched this presentation, you have gone through the checklist, filled in some checks, maybe you have some questions. We'll quickly dive into what is PIM, who we are as PIMvendors.com, and how we can maybe help you with the next steps. What is PIM? We discussed cross-border and cross-border PIM, but we did not discuss PIM yet. PIM is the process and the tools used to manage the product data in your organization. That means maintaining the product data model, so all the attributes related to your product, but also the process of onboarding, enriching, and publishing your product data. What is this PIM process, right? It means you have to onboard product data from different sources, your suppliers, data pools, etc. You have to enrich them with rich data, images, 3D models, videos, and you then publish those on internal and external channels. So it could be your e-commerce store, an internal app, maybe your catalog that you want to print, but it could also be Amazon or a different marketplace outside of your organization. It could be a customer portal that needs your information, your product information to sell the product. And on top of that sits the workflow management suite. So that could be dashboards, it could be tools to define custom roles and responsibilities, and other tools and tricks to make sure that you have a smooth process. In the center of all this is the product data model. A product is actually a multi-layered data entity. So it has a core, a master data core with the product number, the EAN, a barcode, basic product data such as dimensions, weights, etc. There's a rich product data layer around it. That could be images, videos, commercial descriptions, etc. And outside of that is an outer layer, and that could comprise pricing and information, other commercial information such as competitor pricing, maybe customer interactions, reviews, sell-through rate, etc. And it could be relationships such as upsells, spare parts, and sets when this product is linked to other products. And how is PIM then the tool? How is that positioned within your IT landscape? We see it as using data from your ERP, your product lifecycle management, your PLM, and other sources as input. Then your product systems, that means your MDM, your master data management tool, your data asset management tool, your PIM, your product information management tool. And they could all be the same tool, right? It could all be one PIM that does all these things. But in this case, we have an MDM that covers the onboarding of product data and the enrichment of product data. And we have a PIM that is focused on the output and publishing of product data. And all these toolings interact with the DAM, the data asset management tool, to get the correct images, get enriched images, get the right videos, etc., to enrich these products all across the product flow. Right. How do we help you, and how can we help you with our free tools? We have a full scan. This is our independent scan where we fit your PIM profile, your PIM requirements to the PIM profiles of our vendors. We have a free consultation that comes along with it. So if you fill in our quick scan, you will get, or our full scan, you will get a short list of the 5 best fitting PIM solutions and a free consultation with our PIM expert. And it takes around 10 to 20 minutes, so grab a coffee and click on the button. Then there's the quick scan. I already mentioned it. A quick scan that helps you get a short list of just 3 PIM systems, but you get it in 5 minutes. So if you have a less complicated business or you want quick answers, we have a dynamic quick scan. So it even changes along with you based on your answers. That takes really just 5 minutes to answer, and you'll get a quick, independent, algorithmic shortlist straight in your inbox. If you want to check it out, go to the link or click on the button. Then our most used calculator tool, it's the cost calculator. And with it, you can get a free estimation of your PIM costs from design to implementation. And you get basically specific estimates for the design, for the licensing, and for the implementation of a PIM that suits your organization. Of course, it's an estimate and it gives a broad range, but it covers both the first year and the following years, so you can get a real feel for the total cost of ownership for PIM that fits your organization. So click here. And then finally, who are we? We help you select the PIM that is tailored to your unique requirements. And that means basically any question you might have around PIM, we can help you. We sit between the vendors and integrators and the users of PIM. So retailers, wholesalers, manufacturers, they all could use a PIM at some point in their life cycle. And when they do, it's difficult because there's 200 PIMs out there. So which PIM system and which integrator best fit your organization? We help you as an independent broker because we understand your challenges and we know the PIM market. We have a long list of customers from wholesale, retail, and manufacturing, and we work with practically all PIM vendors that are active in the market, from entry-level PIMs to the most enterprise MDM-focused PIMs, from MDM-focused PIMs to open source e-commerce focused PIMs. So we cover the whole market on all dimensions. So what could be your next steps? It depends on where you are in your PIM journey. If you're still beginning, please check our articles and explore them. Use the free tools that we have on our website. Check our knowledge base. Maybe view one of the recordings of our roundtables or lightning demo events. You can fill in the full scan to get your tailored shortlist and a free consultation, or you can schedule a free consultation right away to discuss any question you might have on PIM, on your IT architecture, on your data model. And while you're at it, follow us on LinkedIn so you can stay up to date on all PIM related news. We post almost daily and we share a lot of news on both our own events and own articles, but also on what is happening in the PIM market at large. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Chris, my co-founder, or myself. I'm Stefan. You can find our email addresses here, or you send an email to info@pimvendors.com. That'll also reach us. And I hope you've enjoyed this quick white paper. Thanks for your attention and see you around.